I think I want people to understand a little bit more, about transplant in general. So like because I didn't know anything about, I didn't know anyone who had a transplant of any kind. And so I think when people, and okay, so also keep in mind, no one has met Henley because of COVID. I think what people imagine her to be like is not what she is.
No
Or I think
wires.
sometimes when I explain, like, you can actually live like a pretty normal life and have a transplant, like not have delays and like be smart and go to college, whatever. I think people think I like tell myself that, you know what I mean? Not in like a mean way, but they're like, yes, of course. But like in their minds, I think just from some of the things people have said, I think they don't, that's like exception to the rule as opposed to like often. And I know people have all sorts of secondary issues. I'm not saying like that's not like the case either, but I think anything is possible. And I think sometimes people don't believe that anything is possible. Or like, for example, Henley's not her motor. She has some motor delays because she was asleep for a long time and then she was bedridden for a long time. So this like all makes perfect sense. And like I'm not upset about it. I'm like she'll catch up whenever. But people are like, oh my God, she's 18 months and she can't like comfortably walk by herself. You must be like devastated. I'm like, actually, the fact that like she is moving around at all is like great. Like everyone is very happy with her progress. But it's just like these different comparison points that like I just don't want to be like, well, actually, this or like, well, actually that. And so it's just like in understanding like how kids do with transplant in general. I feel like I wish people knew a little bit, just like more, just like basic information. And then, or like people are like, oh, like when is she coming off her immune suppressants? I'm like, never until like they print her heart. I don't know. Um, and I think people don't, and rightfully so. I wouldn't either. They don't really know how to ask questions, or they make assumptions about how you feel about things, or um, and I think there's no way around some of that anyway. But I wish people understood about transplant. I wish they understood like how like incredible of a person she is, and how you can be like a person and also be sick, you know, because I think there's not a lot of that either, unless you've known someone to be unwell, like a child to be unwell, which is like pretty uncommon these days, I think. um, but like a couple of our neighbors, their kids had cancer, like they're older, but their kids had cancer when they were younger. And so like when we went back to the hospital, they were like, I hope you're not sleeping on those little window seat chairs, like whatever. And like they like totally love seeing Henley and kind of like understand that she is just like a kid that also sometimes is sick. Whereas as opposed to just being like, it's a sick kid that can't do anything.